Have you ever felt that strange, heart-stopping moment when you look up and realize you're alone? That feeling of being a tiny island in a vast, overwhelming sea. Today I want to share a story about that very feeling. A story about a little boy named Leo and one unforgettable afternoon in the heart of a bustling city. It's a tale that reminds us that even when we feel completely lost, the threads of love and connection are stronger than we can ever imagine. It started as a perfect day. The sun was a warm blanket on the city streets, and the air buzzed with the energy of thousands of people. 6-year-old Leo was holding his mother's hand with one hand and a bright red balloon with the other. To him, the city was a giant playground. Skyscrapers were like friendly giants. Car horns were a quirky kind of music, and the crowd was a river he happily floated in, anchored securely to his parents. They were heading to the Grand City Fountain, a place his dad promised was like a water volcano. Leo's eyes were wide, trying to take everything in at once. A street performer was juggling fiery torches, a musician was coaxing a soulful melody from a saxophone, and a vendor was selling pretzels the size of steering wheels. It was a kaleidoscope of sights and sounds. Then he saw it. A window display filled with the most incredible collection of toy soldiers he had ever seen. There were knights in shining armor, futuristic space marines, and old-fashioned redcoats. He tugged on his mom's hand, but she was busy navigating a particularly dense part of the crowd. Just for a second, he thought, he would just take a quick peek. He let go. It was only for a moment. He pressed his nose against the cool glass of the toy shop window, his red balloon bobbing happily beside him. He imagined epic battles and daring rescues. In his mind, he was the general leading his troops to victory. When he finally turned back, ready to tell his mom which soldier he wanted for his birthday, his heart did a flip. The spot where his parents had been standing was empty. He spun around. The river of people flowed on, but his anchors were gone. Panic began to creep in, cold and prickly. The city, which had seemed so magical just moments before, suddenly felt huge and menacing. The friendly giants now looked down on him with indifference. The car horns were just noise, loud and jarring. He called out, "Mom? Dad?" But his small voice was swallowed by the city's roar. He clutched the string of his balloon so tightly his knuckles turned white. It was his last piece of them, his last piece of before. He was officially lost. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he remembered his dad's words. "Brave adventurers don't cry, Leo, they think." So, he took a shaky breath and started to think. Where would they go? The fountain. That's where they were headed. He looked around, trying to get his bearings. The streets looked like a tangled maze of concrete and glass. Which way was the right way? He chose a direction and started walking, his little legs moving as fast as they could, the red balloon trailing behind him like a single desperate signal. He walked past faces he didn't know, a blur of strangers. Some looked down and offered a quick, concerned glance, but the city's current was too strong. Everyone was swept along on their own journey. Leo felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness. He was just a small boy with a red balloon, invisible in a world of giants. He asked a woman for help, but she was on her phone and just waved him away without looking. He felt smaller than ever. The sun began to dip lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, and a new kind of fear, a fear of the dark, started to settle in. He was about to give up, to just sit on the curb and let the tears come, when he heard a familiar sound. It wasn't the saxophone player from before, but it was music. A gentle, hopeful melody from a violin. It drew him in. He followed the sound around a corner and found himself in a quieter square. In the center, a beautiful multi-tiered fountain was spraying water high into the air, sparkling in the last rays of the setting sun. The water volcano. He had found it. He scanned the crowd around the fountain, his heart pounding in his chest. He saw families laughing, couples holding hands, tourists taking pictures. But he didn't see his family. His hope began to fade again. Maybe they weren't here. Maybe they had gone a different way. He stood at the edge of the fountain, watching the water dance, feeling defeated. The balloon, which had been his beacon of hope, now felt heavy, a reminder of what he had lost, and then he heard it. Not a shout, not a scream, but a voice cutting through the noise, filled with a frantic love he knew better than his own heartbeat. "Leo!" It was his mother. He spun around, and there she was, running towards him, his father right behind her. Their faces were etched with worry, but the moment they saw him, relief washed over them like a tidal wave. Leo didn't even think. He just ran. He dropped the balloon string and crashed into his parents' legs. His mother swept him up in a hug so tight it squeezed the air out of him, and his father wrapped his arms around them both, creating a fortress of love. "We were so worried," his mother whispered, her voice thick with tears. "We looked everywhere." Leo buried his face in her shoulder, the familiar scent of her perfume chasing away all the fear and loneliness. He was home. As they held him, he looked up and saw his little red balloon, free from its string, drifting up, up, up into the twilight sky, like a final goodbye to the scary adventure. He didn't need it anymore. He had his parents back. This simple story of a boy and his balloon is a powerful metaphor for our own lives. We all have moments where we feel lost, disconnected, and alone in a world that feels too big and too loud. But it's in those moments that we must remember to search for our own fountains, the people, the places, the beliefs that anchor us. Love is the compass that always points us back home. So if you're feeling a little lost today, just hold on. Your fountain is out there, and the people who love you are looking for you too. Thank you so much for sharing this story with me today. If it resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you'd like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that warm the heart. Until next time, take care and remember to hold on to your anchors.